That it is 5:30. I'm going to call this meeting to order of the Redwood Coast Transit Authority. Would you please take?
Director Short,
I'm here.
Director Roberts,
Here.
Chairman Borges.
I'm here.
And I will take note that Director Altman and Vice Chair Schlong is not here.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
And would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Begin. Okay, moving right along. Public comment. Seeing there is none, we're going to move right on down to the item number 3 for the consent calendar. Do we have any comments on the consent calendar from the board up here? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I will move to approve consent.
Motion and a second. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none, would you please pull the vote?
Director Roberts,
Yes.
Director Short,
Yes.
Chairman Borges.
Yes. Okay, that was quick and easy. Item number 4, the fiscal year 2023-24 presentation of on status of our CTSA programs.
Okay, thank you, Chair Borges. Mark Schaefer, who is going from our team, is going to do the presentation on this. I might chime in a little bit here and there, but Mark is an extremely accomplished CTSA manager from down on the Central Coast, and we're very fortunate to have him on our team. So obviously, I've got him working on our CTSA project. So Mark's going to give us first of what hopefully be a repetitive annual updates on how the programs are going and what we might want to consider doing in the future. Mark, take it away.
All right. Well, thank you. It's very nice to meet all of you. Basically, what we're going to talk about today is, what is a CTSA and what do they do? There's one in each county. And description evaluation of the CTSA service that RCT is currently providing. And what are some other possible CTSA services that RCT could be providing in Delnor County. And finally, we'll end it with some recommendations for you to consider. So a bill was passed in 1979, AB 120, because all the money was going to public transit, and there were a lot of social service agencies providing individual transportation for their own clients. And the idea was we need to coordinate all of these nonprofits together to make a real safe, effective transportation network for times when public transit doesn't work. And so they said, well, you can allocate up to 5% of your TDA towards transportation for people with disabilities, veterans, and low-income residents. And the idea is to provide information about all the transportation options to social service agencies so we can get their people on a more consolidated network of services. Also, CTSAs work to give information to social service agencies that have their own fleets, whether it's a couple vehicles or 10, about vehicle maintenance and driver training and alcohol and drug testing and preparation for CHP inspections and vehicle acquisition. So it was really meant to strengthen the social service transportation network. So currently, when we looked at what are we providing here, we have started a mobility training program. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We have eligibility screening to show that a person is eligible for Americans with Disability Act paratransit services, and we're doing that right now. We have a call center phone service, which is sharing information. Anybody can call into it 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We're trying to make it really easy to plan trips. but we have all the available options on that. And then we also started the South Oregon Medical Shuttle, which is increasing transportation to Medford and Grants Pass. So looking at our current services, we do have mobility training, and we started it back in January 2020. And so it was going about 2 months before COVID hit. And so it really shut down at that point. And we're paying $525 a month for this service. We're working right now with TransDev to do more presentation, go out and find senior groups. But the idea is we want to train people to be comfortable on the fixed route system because it's so much cheaper than the dial-a-ride system. So we're trying to move people whenever they can, if they're capable, to the fixed route system. And so we're working on getting more engagements, getting out there to the public. So that is an option to look at. There's also softwares available. I don't know, Joe, did you want to add a little something there?
Yeah, Mark, thank you. Yeah, I did want to mention that I've talked with Fernando about this, and there was, the COVID. This started when Chuck was still our ops manager. So then the COVID hit, and then Fernando took over for Chuck, and it just somewhere along the line they lost the momentum as far as proactively going out and seeking out these events, getting invited to key meetings, recurring meetings, being a guest speaker on one-off meetings. So they being TransDev is open to us maybe spending the money that we've been paying them. If we could find a person to help go out and set appointments and arrange these travel training deals, kind of be the proactive like canvasser to set up appointments and stuff, then Fernando can go out, because you do need to be a system expert to make the presentations and represent us at the meetings, but you don't have to be a system expert. You just have to have time and energy to kind of get these meetings set up on his calendar. So we do have someone that's interested in doing that. So if the board's okay with that, I can talk to TransDev management. We can try to make that change going forward, where we pay some or all of that money to our on-the-ground person here locally to arrange the meetings and get his calendar filled up better. Because that's where it seems like it's been falling down, is the proactive. We do marketing cards, and they have done meetings when people call us or come to us, but we need to go to them. We need to be more proactive, I think.
Would this be on just like a trial basis, or is this like a contract, or what? How does this unfold?
I think we could do it on a trial basis and see how it goes first. Currently, it's within the First Transit / TransDev contract. I'll talk to them about if we need to do a side letter or something to take that out. They're pretty flexible usually about little stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the idea, is that we could give them some help in getting these appointments and meetings found and set and get us on the docket, so that then he can just come out and be his entertaining self and talk about the system, but not have to go through the rigmarole and the effort of setting up the appointments and finding all the speaking engagements. That's for the group things. Then out of the group meetings, often individual one-on-one trainings pop up out of that. And Fernando, they've already done a couple of those. So it's hopefully there'd be some referrals that come out of those group meetings that maybe some individuals want to learn, and then our staff is capable and ready to go out and do one-on-one training in those cases.
Okay. Sounds good.
And then a big part of that, of course, would be to set goals of how many outings how many speaking engagements you have every year, and a goal for how many people go on the bus and actually receive the training. So that'd be a big part of that contract. All right. So the eligibility screening, we launched that also in January 2020. And then the ridership dropped tremendously because of COVID. And so now we're getting back into the paper applications that people can fill out and they have to get medical documentation from their doctor that indeed they are ADA eligible. And then the executive director evaluates the application, talks to the person about, it's all about why can't they use fixed route? Do they live too far from it? Is it the nature of their ability to walk there? And once they are deemed to be eligible, then they get an ID card that they just show when they do get a ride. So that's an area that we're also going to be working on. Joe, anything else on that?
Yeah, I'd just like to add Mark put it very succinctly. We projected maybe 30 or 40 applications a year when we were in the run up to the start of the program in 2020. That first year, of the 28 that we've received in the 4 years since, half of them were that first year, oddly enough, in the heart of the lockdowns of 2020. We had 14 applications. We've only had 14 since. So it's really slowed down. It is commensurate with our dollar ride in general has been very slow the last 3-4 years. So it hasn't been a high priority, but one thing we never did do is we never compelled the existing dollar ride users that were using the service prior to January of 2020. We never compelled them to come through and get registered. So there's still a number of them in the database from 2020 that are still using the service that have never been evaluated. Anecdotally, because we're small, we kind of know that, there's not a big problem. The dollar ride's been very slow, so it hasn't been an issue. That's why it hasn't been a high priority to tackle that situation, but we could. If the board wanted us to, we could start a process to compel them to start coming and filling out the applications and get them through one time. Once you're evaluated as eligible, it's usually a 3-year eligibility program. Then you have to, in many cases, you have to reapply every 3 years to refresh your membership, your eligibility.
So it sounds like it's not a lot of work, but not a lot of return is kind of what you're implying, or are you saying it's not worth it to do that, go to the effort?
I think it hasn't been because everything's so slow. If we were in a situation where our dollar ride was bursting at the seams and threatening the rest of our budget, because that's the deal with dollar ride, it doesn't get more cost effective when it's busy. It gets more costly when it's busy. If that were the case, we would have brought this to you guys a long time ago. But because it's been quiet, and right now we generally have one driver, and we have enough business to keep that driver generally busy, sometimes even not, and we have to put them on, they have to take breaks and stuff between pickups. But yeah, because it hasn't been a busy issue, it hasn't been growing, we've just sort of backburnered it.
Okay.
Because some people will complain, and some folks will. I'm going to tell you right now, when we try to compel them to go through the process after they've been using it for many years, they're going to say something. So it's not that we're afraid of that, but if no need to poke the bear, we haven't poked the bear.
Yeah. And then with the lower senior fare, we started that, Joe? The $3 fare for seniors?
No, not yet. That's in
yet.
that's in the planning projects that you're
Okay.
on your next slide. Yep.
Got it. Yeah, I think that'll help increase ridership, but let's move on. The Southern Oregon Medical Shuttle and the Route 20 Eureka Medical Loop. These are two services, one that we started, and then the first we'll start with is Route 20. It used to take 2 transfers for folks to get down to Eureka. And what we did was we extended the Route 20 so they can go all the way down to Eureka, go to the hospital, go to medical facilities, the VA clinic, and even on to the Eureka Transit Center. And so we have 3 round trips in the summer and 2 in the winter. But this really is much more convenient to use because you don't have to worry about transferring to another bus. And the ridership is good on this. The Southern Oregon Medical Shuttle is a service that is twice a day a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you have to make reservations in advance. It's door to door, so it goes to your door and drops you off at the medical facility, but you can also use it for shopping. And the good thing about this service is that if there's no reservations, there's no cost. So it only operates on the days that we have reservations. We had the fires on US 199 that really impacted the use of this service right after we launched it. And since then, we've had 31 total rides in this calendar year, but we're up to about 5 or 6 riders every month now, and we're still getting the word out there. The call center is active and has been going, and the key to that is to make sure that we keep all the information about the various transportation services current, so we're giving out accurate information, but really no additional cost because the dispatchers were already answering the phones. It's just now we're marketing, let us help you plan your trip. And even if it's not public transit, we'll help you figure out what's the best way to get there. So looking at some potential CTSA services, we're looking at an online guide that would have the same information about different transportation services in Delaware County. We would also develop resources for the different nonprofits about driver training, vehicle maintenance, drug testing programs, how do you get vehicles, and how do you get ready for a CHP terminal inspection. And then we want to actually get the social service agencies together and see how they can coordinate transportation to give more than just rides to their own people. They could make money helping other agencies get their people around. And then we want to add a CTSA page to the RCT website that would have all of these resources and information, particularly for social service agencies that are looking on how do they get their people to various appointments and things like that. Then looking beyond the near future, we're really excited about trying to brand the senior shuttle. So we're talking about making it a little bit cheaper for seniors to ride the dial ride. It's free rides if they get on the fixed routes, but really make seniors aware in the community they do have alternatives to driving themselves. And so that's something we're working on. And a big thing that we're doing is trying to promote non-emergency transportation. When people call the call center and say they have a medical appointment, we're asking them, are you on Medi-Cal? Because if they are, we want to try to get them to use the Medi-Cal system through Partnership Health to have the rides, because it's free for them and it's door-to-door service and very convenient for them to use. We want to start collaboration forums with social service agencies and transportation partners to brainstorm what are some of the unmet needs and can we use social service transportation to meet some of those. And some of the ideas from that could then be shared as an unmet transit need during the annual process. Again, we want to create a CTSA webpage, add the resources for the nonprofits to try to make their system more safe. And then again, put that Del Norte transportation guide on the website, and also have a very simple printed form that could be at each agency, again, to let their clients know what are some of their options. And continue to let people know about all these services because they're really valuable and just people need to be aware of them. So again, this is kind of reiterating, we're want to develop that senior shuttle concept and provide discounted general public demand response, the proposal to non-ADA seniors. So it's not as inexpensive as being an ADA rider, but it's still a great deal. We're going to be looking at non-emergency medical transportation and how can we get more people to utilize that. And the good news is that I have quite a few resources that can provide this information at a relatively low cost as far as producing the materials for the CTSA website. So we're going to be expanding our mobility training, outreach to various groups that we think we can get on the fixed route system. We're going to try to get the social service agencies and the tribes to work together to share their resources, and they can actually make money by making their transportation resources available. We've already had big steps towards supporting seniors and veterans with lower fares on the fixed route, and then provide easy access to all kinds of educational resources on the website and hard copies. And then every year, I'll hopefully be here giving you a complete update of what we accomplished in this year and what else we have to go up ahead. And that is my report. Open it up to any questions.
Okay, well, I'm going to just, oh, somebody say something? No? Oh, I thought I heard something, sorry. I'm just going to start out opening public comment to see if there's any questions from the public. Well,
City meeting? The city meeting is at wastewater. It's a special meeting tonight.
and it started at 5:30.
Yeah.
No comment on the Coast Transit?
Yeah, yeah.
Linda, you're letting me down. Come on, you gotta have something. Yeah. All right. Next time. So I have a question on the. Oh shoot, where would it go? Like the recommended steps that you want to take, like going forward in the future. Are you needing from us direction, something, or how does that go? Or is this something you're just working on? What's the kind of next steps going forward?
I think I'll turn that over to Joe.
I think it's mostly we need guidance and direction if you think we're going in the right direction with this. If there's any particular things that we omitted that you might want to see us do, or anything we said we're going to do that you don't think we need to do, that kind of thing. But it's basically just kind of we wanted to establish this yearly check-in with the board on how this important but small part of what we do is going. So we hadn't really talked too much. I think we've mentioned that things have been slow, but this was a full report out to you guys, and then any direction on, for example, like we touched on one touch point. Do you want us to bring back existing riders that never were run through the registration thing, or should we just defer that until later? The senior shuttle concept plan that Mark's working on, we wanted to rush that to fruition this summer, but we do want to make sure we don't get into something that we can't sustain, because again, the CTSA budget's only $30,000 to $50,000 a year, and we're currently funding the South Oregon thing out of that. So I wanted to kind of buy us a year by doing a little more research and planning on that while we see how the South Oregon thing's going to mature and evolve, because we just don't know it. The first few months were, in kind of tripped up by the fires. And then the last 6 months, it's been slow, but we get a lot of calls. I was just in the office today, and we must have had at least like 3 people call. So it's starting to catch on. People need to understand that it's Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then they have to work with their doctor to plan accordingly. So I think there's like a curve, but I think I think that program's going to start to pop and continue to grow. So we just want to take a year and maybe plan ahead for the senior shuttle without overcommitting ourselves in case the South Oregon thing starts eating up most of our budget, which it could.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
And we do have, we're shooting for our first collaboration forum will be before our next board meeting. So like around September 19th, we're going to host one. I was talking to Tamara. She won't be there for that one, but she also wanted to get, because we have a once annual meeting that's the DNLTC unmet needs process, and she gets pretty good attendance at that. But we've been trying to get that group, and some others can join, but that group to meet a little more often, because once a year is not enough to really collaborate. So a couple more meetings, I think that would work. So we're going to try to have one in September to kick things off, and then maybe it'll be like quarterly or every four months or so after that.
Okay. Any questions from up here? Just real quick on the senior shuttle. It said it's going to be higher than the dial-a-ride. Can you explain that?
Absolutely. Unless you want to go for a mark. So the dial-a-ride, we have two fares now. General public, which is $5, about to be $6 in a month or so with the fare increase we just did, and the dollar-ride, which is $1.50, about to be $1.75. That's if you're ADA eligible. So you get a deep discount if you're ADA eligible. But for the seniors that aren't ADA eligible, but they're still seniors, there's no middle ground.
Gotcha.
So the idea would be like lay it in there at about $3 or $3.50 or something in between the general public and the ADA qualified senior.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Okay. Yeah, as far as as far as the main one, sounded like the main question that you had about the deferring the right term is about going back to the current riders. I think that's just fine by me. How everyone else feels about that. But yeah, I think that's a great plan, and we'll just defer it again until we absolutely have to.
Okay. That sounds good.
And then, perfect. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Mark. Good job.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, we'll move on down to item number 5, fiscal year 2023 annual report system performance.
All right, thank you. This is my turn. We might ask Mark to jump in or Fernando at some point, but so we do our annual report to you guys in two sections. We have our performance data, which is how our ridership and hours. We have that pretty quickly at the end of a fiscal year, so that's what we're going to go through tonight, real quick here. And then about mid-fiscal year or even early next year, we'll get the financials and then we'll add them in. And then there's some other stats that generate from that are cost-based. But we wanted to present to you fresh data on how we did last fiscal year. So this performance report covers July of 23 through June of 24. And we had a good year. We're still not recovered completely from the pandemic. The year before, we had a large jump of like 40%. That tapered off a little bit this year, but we still improved like 12.5% over the prior year. So it was a good year of system performance. Getting down to a little bit of a fine grain, our local routes here in Crescent City are still the best and most productive, which makes sense. The density of population is the highest. Our dollar ride remains slow, as we touched on earlier in kind of a policy side. But yeah, it's still quite slow and has been since the pandemic. Our regional routes they've been picking up a little bit. Let me see how much. Did they pick up more or less than the locals? A little bit better, actually. So the Route 20 increased by just under 20% ridership this last year, so that was stronger than average. And the 199, not so much. It was about even with the year before. So Route 20, which is the Smith River to Eureka, and with the new loop through the Eureka Medical that we talked about, that's doing quite well. Our route, the big star in the last year was our Route 300, which is our afternoon school tripper. So it's open to the public, of course, has to be by law, but it's designed for and mostly serves students at the Crescent Elk Middle and at Del Norte High. And it had a really good year. We've been waiting for this to pop and start to do well. We started it a couple years before the pandemic, and the year of the pandemic, it was starting to really do well. Then our luck came in, and that shut that down for a couple years. But we finally bounced back and had our all-time best year with Route 300 last year. And so much it has been, we found a supportive audience at Crescent Elk especially that really helped us promote this to the kids and the parents. So, yeah, our ridership was off the charts on that route last year. Let's see if I can get some actual numbers instead of off the chart. Yeah, so we had just over 5,000 rides on that route last year, which is a lot considering our overall total, don't forget, was under 100,000. We're in the 80s, so 5,000 is a huge thing for us at this point. So we're really pleased with that. And today was the first day of school. And we all survived it. And the tripper had, Route 300 had 11 or 12, Aline said today. So for a first day of school, that's phenomenal because usually the parents take the kids and pick them up on the first day, and then later they're like, okay, find a ride, Junior. But no, today we even had 11 on the first day, which is fantastic. We'll have to closely monitor that because our buses aren't huge. So if we ever start getting, one of the things is we need to be able to deal with our success. So if it starts to fill up, we gotta, we'll have to try to make sure we deploy as big a bus as we can to make sure the kids are comfortable. So what else happened? We did some new things last year, just to recap. So we added general public dollar ride service to the airport, to CEC Airport. I don't have ridership numbers isolated on that. Maybe Fernando can kind of speak to how often it gets taken advantage of. We put out a lot of initial marketing materials at the airport, working collaboratively with the airport management. I don't know how it's been doing lately. Maybe Fernando can kind of tell us what he's heard and what usage has been like the last couple months.
Slim, I think, between the changes with the airport company. But for the most part, we seem to be getting a lot of people that are flying in from San Francisco or Oakland that are going to visit their family at the Pelican Bay State Prison. For the most part, we might have one or two a month. When it was, I think, Contour Airline before, we probably were averaging about 5 to 6. But with the new airlines, some of the flight times have changed accordingly. So most of the people either call a cab or they'll drive their own vehicle to the airport. That's convenient for them. But we're in contact with Ryan out at the airport. Hopefully we're going to get another shuttle service going for them because he contacted us to see if we can do something for emergency landings when they can't fly into Crescent City, but they want to fly into Arcata or Medford so that we can go and pick them up. The issue Joe and I have is our buses aren't large enough to seat 30 passengers, and that's the max passenger count that they would have. So we're still discussing more information on that to increase the ridership for the airport.
Thanks, Fernando.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been in discussions with Advanced Air, which is the new carrier, the new airline, and we placed an ad in their in-flight magazine, and we're talking with them about the bus bridge deal that he's talking about for these weather-driven delayed things where they can't land at CEC. So hopefully, I mean, so far they seem like real good to work with, but we just, again, our fleet is what it is, and it's not, the buses are not very large, so we got to be careful about saying we'll do it, and then if it takes 2 vehicles, we can do that if Advance knows they're going to get billed for 2 vehicles. That's going to be 2 operators, double the cost for a bridge. If they really have 30 people with baggage, we would need 2 buses to do that. Anyway, but those discussions are underway, and we'll brief you guys as they evolve. But yeah, the airport thing's been kind of slow, but it's out there. We have headwinds with the free parking out there, so that doesn't. And then the Southern Oregon Medical Shuttle started to pick up, as we talked about in the last presentation. It's still been pretty slow, but it doesn't cost us as much because we come up with the 2 reservation minimum. So if just one person needs to go, they can pay for 2 fares and buy the trip. or they can wait until another, oftentimes though with if the appointment is medical, they don't want to wait because they're hard to move around. So, but that has kept us from running empty buses, so that's kept the program solvent. And I think other than that, if there's any tasty tidbits in here. If you look at like the first couple of pages of the bar graphs, our annual ridership hit bottom in 2021, and pretty much the next year, 21-22 was a disaster as well. But we've recovered quite a bit, almost to where we were in 1920. But 1920 was stunted at the end because the pandemic hit in March. So that year was actually going to be a really good year for us had the COVID not hit. So in my mind, then we're still below the ridership levels we were pre-pandemic. Service level wise, we're about there. We're right at about 15,000 annual revenue hours, a little bit up from the pandemic days, but a little bit down from the past. Our rider per hour productivity kind of mirrors the overall ridership. It's improved each year, the last 2 years, quite a bit. And we're getting within striking distance of the pre-pandemic days. So it used to be about 6 riders per hour system-wide for several years there. We're at about 5.5, so we're getting there. And that means how many people ride per hour. So the service we're putting out there is generally being pretty efficient and pretty well. Our operating cost per hour is not, you guys have heard about that, but it's went way up during the pandemic and it stayed there. So it's pretty steady now at about $125 per hour. A lot of that was wage increases for our staff. We added a couple positions to stabilize us, thank goodness, because we added a second shop position because we've been without our shop, our main mechanic for a few months. We have a new one starting Wednesday, so that's good news. Fernando can talk more about that during his report. And the fuel costs were killing us there for a while, though we did get some relief this year. And then we'll be back with these numbers with more of a financial focus in a few months, but I'll take any questions you guys might have about the performance report.
So in obviously 2020, you pointed out it's the lowest, and then it's been steadily growing. But yet, 23, 24, it's still not back to where it was. What's the reason for that? What do you think it is? Like, what would you chalk it up to?
I don't know. I wish I did have that answer. It's possibly overall demographics. We're doing better with the youth than we ever did before. We know that, or things would be even grimmer. But I think we're not doing as well with maybe the senior and elderly population, or maybe some of our riders and advocates have passed on and aged out. So I don't know. I think it's a mix of all those things. But yeah, I can't tab any one thing for it, to pin all the blame on it. We've been marketing more, but I think we can improve our marketing. We got to continuously strive to do that. I think getting the travel training thing aggressively going would help help people get the word out about us. Yeah. No, just in general, though, I think we sit about even with where most transit agencies are at in the country. Hardly anybody's recovered completely. Our metrics are a little different because I don't think we lose a lot of people to the work at home thing like maybe Sound Transit or BART does, but we might lose some to like demographics and maybe a lot of our older riders maybe being afraid to ride the system or go out. I don't know. I think every transit agency has its own set of challenges, but we're pretty much in line with most of the nation in the fact that we're recovering, but we're not all the way back yet.
I want to add, the other big issue we've had is our ridership to Humboldt County and to the colleges has gone down due to interface and the social media being a big part of it. And then a lot of people, if you guys look at dealerships, used cars sales have gone up ever since COVID hit. You can't even get a used car at a decent price no more. People went out and bought a new car. But a big portion of that was the college students. We've seen a huge drop in that.
Yeah, there's so many classes being offered. Even still, the hybrid learning format's not going away. And that I know if it's like my son's schools, it went from like, maybe 5-10% of the offerings before the pandemic. Now it's still like half of them. So a lot of kids are choosing to go, to do Zoom classes, and then they don't need us if they don't need transportation to go to a campus. So I think that's part of the headwinds for sure. I'm excited about, we didn't touch much on it in my initial walkthrough, but we've been spending a lot of time and effort working with our partners to the south on this North Coast Express concept. I think that we talked about it back in June, but Greyhound pulled out of the corridor, the 101 corridor between Martinez and here. So that was new. So to react to that, luckily we already have this coalition, this partnership that's been meeting on all kinds of stuff, but we've all adjusted our schedule and we're creating this creature called the North Coast Express, which should help fill that gap where Greyhound left us. So the service is there. You can ride it today. Our morning southbound trip that leaves here at 7:30 from Cultural Center, that gets into Eureka's downtown transit center. They don't want us to call it the transit center yet because they're about to build a nice one. But anyway, it gets to their transfer point downtown at 3rd and H. And then like 15 minutes later, their bus leaves for Mendocino. So with just a couple short breaks along the way to stretch your legs, passengers can get to Santa Rosa at like 4 p.m. So it's a cool partnership. It's a lot cheaper than the Hound was. And as far as your fares to passengers. So I think we dial that in and start to market it. It could help our ridership. It's never going to be super productive because there's just not that many people traveling, regionally, but I think it'll help. And we're excited about participating in that. We're going to have a QR code. Our new schedules that'll be out at the end of September will have some information about it too to help market it. It's an exciting project. That's a whole item. We should do it. We'll do like maybe next month a whole write-up about that partnership. I wanted to let you know it's happening.
And the trip to Eureka, that's every day, 5 days a week?
6.
days.
Monday through Saturday. Yeah.
Is there ever an option or the ability to, sometimes there's people who need parts in Eureka and getting like if a supplier dropped a part at the transit station and you were able to bring them back for a fee or something. Is that ever an option? Has that ever even been explored?
Oh yeah, Greyhound used to do that.
Right, that's what made me think of it.
That's a good
So,
good
in
point.
fact, we still do. We just charge the normal passenger fee for the
Really?
packages. The last one that I know about, we did one for Bernie Bishop Mazda. They sent a package to Eureka.
Really?
So
Okay.
they just met up with us at the Lucky 7 Casino. We boarded the package, and then somebody picked it up in Eureka for them.
Okay. I know personally I've needed multiple things and I couldn't think of anybody that was in Eureka. Never.
Yeah. When I used to work at O'Reilly's, we actually co-partnered between Transit Center to get parts because Eureka has them. But if we can't get them onto the truck before 5:30 p.m. and we don't see them, the bus leaves there at 6:30. So perfect timing. They bring the part down, and it's cheap on both ends.
Is that something we could market better?
It is. I think it would be a good market.
We could and who would be it'd be mainly your auto shops and dealers that would be involved?
For the most part, we had a passenger ship a guitar. I mean, they just called us up, hey, can I ship a guitar up to Eureka? Forget the company, but it was somebody that repairs musical instruments, and we just dropped it off and they picked it up.
I mean, I could think of between contractors, farmers, auto repair places. I mean, obviously you have to put a size limit on the weight limit, I would assume, but there's many times where you need just
And he looked into it. It was going to cost him $200 to ship the guitar.
Absolutely.
Just from Brookings to Eureka. So $8.
Full-time service. To have full-time service efficiency would run back and forth to Eureka all the time. I guess they're not running anymore. But
for, whatever the current rate is for that ride, I mean, that's a pretty amazing deal. And it runs twice a day?
3 times in the summer and twice in the off peak, in the winter.
Okay.
Yep.
That's a good idea. We'll take a look at how we can get the word out on that because that is a cool service, and it might be a market we can tap that would help with our fare box recovery. Because we didn't talk much about it because we don't have the financials, but it's not good. So yeah, this would help with that.
I was just wondering on the bus that goes down to Mendocino, are people able to purchase the ticket for the full ride from, like, say, here in Crescent City? Or do
Not-
they have to buy 2 tickets at
Yeah, not yet. We don't have any e-ticketing ourselves. We never did. We kind of rode the coattails of Greyhound, that people could buy their ticket online on the Greyhound site. So we don't have e-commerce yet, and that's something that we've been talking with the group about. Caltrans might even help with that, which would be cool, but that is missing right now. So right now, we all do take credit cards, which is cool. A lot of agencies don't. So all the participating players, ourselves, HTA and Mendo, that we all take the credit cards for our share. Like in our case, it might be, the fare from here would be like $10, $12. Humboldt's is even cheaper. They're doing like a real low promotional fare. So yeah, you can use your card and pay for all 3 legs, and it'll still be like $20. It's pretty cheap. But there's more things we can do with that. But having a website where the e-ticketing could be done would be huge. So hopefully we get to that. That's definitely a weakness in the partnership as it is right today. You can't do.
And are we advertising for the medical ride for Southern Oregon too? Doing some advertising?
Yeah, I don't see Sylvia on the call, but it's one of our rotating messages in our buy with Bi-Coastal with the radio. So I know they're advertising that some. The one I heard last night when I was in town was not. It was about the vets and the students ride free. But yeah, it's in our mix. And then we've been doing outreach directly to the medical offices in town here, thinking the referring physicians would be a great place to go after. But yeah, we're always open to more ideas because it hasn't been a real easy thing to get the word out on this service for sure. Of course, it's on our website. We do have an opportunity coming up to do some self-promotional signs. We had one of our major buys is not going to renew this year on the outside of the buses. So we got an opportunity to promote ourselves and, just pay for the cost of production. So we could do that to help get the word out more about the South Oregon shuttle and or the vets, seniors, students, all the free rides program. So maybe we mix it up in half and half, but we certainly could try that to help get the word out.
Okay.
I just had a couple of curiosity questions. Fernando, you talked about the shuttle or the possible shuttle between the airport back to Crescent City in the case that Advanced Air couldn't land. If somebody was to ask me how many people a big bus held, I would have guessed around 30. How many? 28? Oh, just missed it.
But
And then you got to have room for
yeah, we have an
baggage
event
as
coming
well.
up on the 5th that we're helping Caltrans, I believe it's Caltrans,
Yeah.
to shuttle people up to the new site where they're going to be doing the tunnel. That'll be exciting.
Oh,
They
okay.
originally had 30 people, but I told her we couldn't accommodate 30, so she got it down to 25.
Gotcha. Okay. One other question I had was about Route 300. It says in our packet, while technically open to the public, the route is designed to meet the needs of students. I was told, of course, this was totally unofficial, but when students get on at Crescent Elk during that short period of time that school is out, do we make the whole loop? Do we go to almost said beachfront, Front Street and all the way to
No,
around Walmart?
that route
We-
starts off at Crescent Oak.
And it
but
ends
we
at-
modify
it-
that
it
and
ends at
only kind
Cultural.
of focus on the kids, right?
Yes, and for the most part, we've only taken kids because a lot of that time frame doesn't fit into the general public's eyes. But if somebody were to get on, I think one time when I did the route, I picked somebody up at Summer Park. There was no one on the bus and took them to the cultural center.
I was kind of thinking that is kind of why ridership is going up, because I believe parents are coming to understand that we're not going down to Front Street and picking up the vagrants.
Yeah,
that
no,
happen to
we're not
hang
going
out down
to
there
Front Street.
with
Yeah.
with our children. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a really cool piece that you can put your children on the bus and take them as a group and drop them off for, after school activities at the high school kind of thing. So it seemed to me that would probably be why the ridership is so high. But after reading the report, I was like, I looked at the map of the route, and I don't think their route goes that way with the kids. But no, it's good to hear that we've done that and kind of, I guess, watch out for the kids as they ride from one place to the other.
Yep.
Is there a reason it has to be open to the public?
FTA law. We're a public transit agency, so they have like 28 clauses that we have to all memorize and swear in blood that we'll never violate. I think that's number 27. But yeah, we can't exclude, we can't do school bus. If we don't let anyone out, we can design it so no one would ever, hardly ever want to use it. But if anyone tried and we denied them, that would be a violation.
Okay.
I looked in there once at Crescent Elk, and it was pretty full of middle schoolers. So yeah, it's well used.
We've had very good luck there, to the point where we've had to put out some of our biggest buses towards the end of last year, and it looks like it might be the same this year, so it's good. In the morning, we don't do one. It seems like, and I've got a lot of experience with these things at other properties. There's a much higher ratio of kids that need transportation at 2 or 3 p.m. than there is at 7 to 8, because parents can drop them off. It kind of fits into the parents' morning routine way better than 3 p.m. does. So they the kids tend to ride trippers, in Petaluma, I think I'd maybe carry 50 or 60 in the morning and 300 in the afternoon. So yeah, it's just a lot more demand in the afternoon. So right now we're only doing afternoon. We tried morning a couple years ago, and we could do it again if demand came, if we were asked to, but right now we're just doing the PM trip. We serve the schools with our regular routes in the morning, and some kids take it, but not a lot.
Yeah, that just a couple of curiosity things for me. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll open it up for public comment. Seeing none, I think we can move on. Let's go to item 6, update on the short-range transit plan status.
This one's just a quick verbal update. We brought on LSC is the name of our consultant. They're really good with these sort of projects. They came on board a few months ago. They've been working on kind of the existing conditions, we call it. The first part of the plan is to evaluate everything we do now and gather a bunch of data. So they're working on that. They've submitted a couple of invoices. We went through the first RFR with Caltrans, which was painful, but we got through it. So the next big event is, our next meeting in September, they're going to be here the week before doing a lot of activities. So the week of September, like 18th through 20th, they'll be here managing a 3-day 4-day. I'll be managing the last day for them, but a 4-day onboard survey to where we work with existing riders and survey them on a number of questions and demographics and stuff, things they want to see, things they don't want to see. Then they'll be, in the midst of that, they're going to be doing interviews with our drivers. They're going to do a little focus group session with the drivers which is great, to get their ideas. They're also there's a community survey that'll launch before that. I think the community survey will be website and email based, and that should be ready in the next week or so. And that'll run through about the time they get here in mid-September. That's aimed more at the non-rider, the community member, to get their impressions and what it would take to get them to try the bus, that sort of thing, to gauge how much knowledge there is about what we do out there. So, and then that'll culminate. So they'll be here doing the major outreach effort and information gathering in mid-September. And then probably by the time I'm guessing maybe we don't have to meet in October if all goes well as a board. But in November, when we do meet again, we'll probably have them prepare or present Tech Memo 1, which is the findings of all that information about who we are now and what we're doing now. So that's coming. And then after that, they go into planning for what we could be doing.
Okay. Any comments on that? No, looking good. Great. Number 7, management report, TransDev.
The biggest one was the one Joe spoiled. our shop manager. He officially came in 2 weeks ago and worked Friday and Saturday to get a fill of things. And then he's actually from the Bay Area, so he's moving up this way. His family was originally from here. So him and his wife are going to be moving back, and he's going to officially start on Wednesday of this week. Driver staffing levels is doing great. We're ready for the cut as soon as September ends. I know if you guys remember, September we pulled the 199 and the mid trip to Arcata. So we're ready for that, and everything's been a good month.
How did this guy, the new hire, how did he even learn about the job?
So we currently advertise on Indeed, JobVite. We just extended it down to the UTI of Sacramento as well. So it broadened our area, search area. And he told us he got it from Indeed. He was just looking at the areas, and we just happened to have a posting.
Great. Any other questions for Fernando? That was easy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, number 8, RCTA Executive Director's Report. Joe, what do you got?
Let it be noted that the new hire saw the shop, saw the fleet, and said he's going to come back. So that's good, because that fleet's, been rode pretty hard. You remember there was about 4 years where we didn't get any new buses. So we did get the 2 new ones in the fleet that came in late April. So they've been commissioned. They're working. Those are really nice. They are low floored, so they're best suited on the local routes. So that's usually where they get deployed. So that's the first relief, but we have a lot of relief coming. I did want to mention we've successfully been notified that we've been successful in obtaining a couple more grants in the last couple months. These will be for 4 new diesel larger buses. Not large like, in the big city, but large like our largest buses in our fleet now. So the first 2, and this is in addition to the 2 we just ordered that we had with the price increase, so we had to reorder earlier on tonight's agenda. So this will be 4 in addition to that. So we'll, if all goes well, we'll have a 6 diesel fleet in a couple of years, and they'll all be pretty new. Which is good, because after that it's going to get harder to buy diesel buses in California because of the CARB mandates for zero emission stuff. So we're getting them now while we can, and hopefully that'll ensure that we can continue providing the Route 20 and 199 services, and maybe even expand them and have the vehicles in the yard to do that. The free ride expansion process, we started accepting, so all seniors 65 and over can ride free. We started implementing that after our last meeting. We've been working on, and we're about ready to unveil a process for folks that are disabled but not 65 years old to basically prove their disability, that they're eligible. It's a half-page form that we've got put together, and then they can get an ID card, and that means they get to ride free. If it wasn't for the grant we have, they would ride for half price, which is good too. But as long as that grant stands, we're able to provide the service free for them on fixed routes. So we're working on that. That should be ready in the next week or so. So we're excited. Hopefully that'll be another thing that helps our ridership get back on its feet and get back to where it was before the pandemic. We are still working on our environmental document process for the Williams Drive electric bus charging project. We just found out an update from our consultants. They may need to do a cultural resources survey, which will be extra money and extra time. They're trying to avoid it, but they've run into a question on that. And other than that, we plan on meeting again next month. And I don't have anything further, but I'll take questions.
Okay, any questions for Joe? No. Okay, number 9, any other announcements from the board? Anyone else? Nope. Okay, then I'm going to adjourn this meeting to our next RCTA board meeting is on Monday, September 23rd at 5:30 p.m.